All right, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to today's sharing of Harmonize2Energize. My name is Terry Matthews. It's been my pleasure and privilege to share aspects of JIN SHIN JYUTSU and sometimes modalities with overlapping connections for the past 5 years. If you're completely brand new to the art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU, it is an art of harmonizing energy, sometimes known as prana or chi or ki, depending on your culture, as it moves through our body in energy pathways. And those of you that are familiar with traditional Chinese medicine may have seen an acupuncturist, same philosophy, but the major difference is, there are many, is that there are only 26, what Mary Burmeister, who brought the art from Japan, called safety energy locks, to tweak or adjust the flow and frequency of the energy as it goes through these pathways, whereas in acupuncture they may have 100 or more tinier points. In JIN SHIN JYUTSU, the energy locks, safety energy locks, are the diameter of the palm of your individual hand, not mine. And in JIN SHIN JYUTSU, we place the hands, palms of the hands, thumbs, fingers, back of hands on these safety energy locks to allow this life force, this energy, to move more congruently. Because in our life, through our thoughts, words, and deeds, we can disharmonize the flow and frequency of that energy. And Mary Burmeister, who I mentioned, who brought this art from Japan to the West in the 70s or 60s, or maybe even before that. I'm hearing different dates as I learned myself. Said really the basis, or if you like, the foundation or the bottom of all incongruences could be said to be a lack of harmony caused by an imbalance left and right of our body, which can be harmonized by the mediator. And in turn, that harmonizes mental, emotional issues that come up in our life, the attitudes, which are said to be really all about our bus line area, our soul, the message that we bring every day into our life can disharmonize every other function in our body. So, because we're working with energy, we work with all beings, and that includes plants. And today, it's my privilege and pleasure to share at the meeting. Well, actually, I'm going to not say very much at all. I'm hosting our guest presenter, who some of you may be familiar with. This is Adele Leas. Welcome, Adele. Adele can probably talk for herself, but if you didn't read my intro promo, Adele is a very experienced long-term JIN SHIN JYUTSU practitioner who founded JIN SHIN JYUTSU for Your Animal Companion. What does that mean? She introduced ways and authored a book on how you can use JIN SHIN JYUTSU with animals. And she's run many, many courses globally, and she continues to do so today to help us to learn how to interact with our animals using the understandings and flows of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. So without further ado, enough from me. This is your Q&A presentation, so hopefully you've all come with some questions, and I'm going to pass the baton, as the current cliche is, to, to Adele. Welcome, Adele. Here you go.
Thank you, Terry. Honored to be here. And yeah, what fun. I rarely get here in person for them, but boy, I'm a fan of your replays. So thank you for that. And kind of tickled to get to be here in person today. So if you've been with me on other classes, you're probably used to seeing me in a different setup. I work sometimes in Destin, Florida, where I'm on staff at an animal sanctuary called Aliqua Animal Refuge. And then the flip side of my life, I just drive back and forth to New Orleans, where I have my human practice for the last 34 years. And so we're in New Orleans right now, which means I don't have quite the setup to have the dog on the dog bed where the camera focuses and all. So we'll see if we need hands-on. I will figure this out. So wanted to just share some general thoughts, then we'll open it up for questions. And if there aren't questions, I'll just keep yapping. So just a tad of how I got here. In 1988, I was in a drowning accident where I died, and they brought me back to life with the paddles. And my fiance died, and they did not bring him back. And from that, I lost about a third of my left lung. So breathing wasn't so great. And it's funny what that breathing does for us, you know. And I also had grief, and between the lack of breathing and the grief, all second depth for people familiar with that concept, I just spiraled down and got sicker and sicker and sicker, and it led to more and more complications. And I was in theater back then, and a woman who had hired me to do some theater work and some voiceovers and such, gave me a gift certificate for this unpronounceable thing that I had never heard of. And I really felt sick back then. So the thought of driving half an hour to get this session, so I called and tried to get the money back. And Phyllis Singer, who Terry knew, I think, was the practitioner down in Tampa, Florida. And she very gently and lovingly said, you know, when you're given a gift certificate, we think you should use it. So that was blown. And I didn't want to offend the woman who'd given it to me. So for all of those reasons, I went for my first session. And I tell you that only to tell you that you don't need to know before you start. You don't need to understand. You don't even need to necessarily want to be experienced, be introduced to this art. And still, if it's meant to, it will come into your life. I went for this session, and yeah, here I am, basically 34 years later. Since that day, I've never started the day without Main Central. I mean, once in a while it happens a little later in the day, but basically every day. And I've also, it's just my personal need. I've done the spleen flow. It's my buddy. I cannot get through the day without it. And very quickly, I knew I wanted to know more. I wanted to go forward. I didn't think I wanted to do this with my life, but I wanted to understand why I was getting healthier. So in 1989, I took my first 5-day class with Wayne Hackett up in Boston, Massachusetts. Day 2, Wayne, oh, I didn't tell you this part. I got to jump back or it won't make sense. After the drowning, I didn't know, I'd been raised with dachshunds, and I thought I needed somebody that I could do that to. I needed to hold on. And I rescued a collie dog named Amitai. And they told me he was 4 years old, and they told me he was going to go be put down the next day because he had such chronic diarrhea. And I, with extreme naivete, said, oh, come on, how bad could diarrhea be? Yeah. So again, getting that gift certificate and chronic diarrhea, those are all part of the reasons why I am here today. Turns out chronic diarrhea can be really bad. And so I go to this first class with Wayne. And on day 2, Wayne mentions safety energy lock 8. And he mentions that among other wonderful things, it can help with constipation and diarrhea. I was sitting in the back of the room, still on an oxygen machine, and my hand went up, and it doesn't work on animals. And Wayne, being Wayne, said, my cat likes it. And that's all I could get out of him. And so I went home and I started asking everyone I could think of, how do you work on animals? And people kept telling me that it was theoretically possible. But Amitai did not have theoretical diarrhea, and I'm not necessarily proud of this, but it's my story and it's what got me here. And so maybe some of you have gone through that. So I got down on the ground, and first off, I didn't understand the anatomy. So in fact, instead of the 18, I held his 16, pardon me, instead of the 8, I held the 16, because on a dog, I thought that was a knee, and that's actually an ankle. Now I know that, then I didn't. So I held the wrong safety energy lock, and I held it, yeah, about that long. And what's amazing is that his lifelong journey with diarrhea did not go away. So what I took away from that was that maybe JIN SHIN JYUTSU could help animals, but I couldn't help my boy because I wasn't smart enough. I didn't know enough. I didn't understand enough. And so I didn't keep going. And it took me a couple more years. I took many more classes. I started a human practice. I wanted to help him. I took him for acupuncture, and but we did homeopathics, and I made homemade diets, and and still he was sick. And years went by. And finally, I had this amusing day where everybody I worked on seemed to need a bladder flow. And then I finished early. It was a Tuesday, and I was supposed to take him to acupuncture, which he hated because he hated the car, and he hated the metal table, and he hated the needles. But we'd have 2 or 3 days without diarrhea. So I took him. That day, this was the best behaved boy you'd ever meet, and he wouldn't get in the car. And I got charged because I canceled the appointment within less than an hour, So I'm like, okay, something's got to give. So that day I got on the floor and I started working. Right to tighten, left to loosen. We started simply with a right bladder flow, self-help. And I wasn't exactly sure where everything was. And do you know that little boy moved his body to my hands? And I thought, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this every day for a month. And I'm not going to be the way I normally am. I'm not going to keep charts. I'm not going to, take photos of poop. I'm just gonna do the work. I'm gonna get out of my way and I'm gonna do the work. And within 30 days, it was mostly gone. I mean, I still made rice. Like if he saw something terrible, like a suitcase, he still got scared, but for the most part, that's what it took. And so if I could just share two things with you, it would be patience and trust. And, they say that, imitation is the highest form of, yeah. So don't imitate me. Don't waste years thinking you don't know enough, because you do. And with the animals, ironically, the more simple you are, the more success you will have. Success, that's a funny word, but the more your animals and you, or the animals you share it with, will feel the benefits of peace. Okay, so I thought, Terry, anything to, you look like you have an aha or a.
Oh, no, well, I think it's very much all about the patience and the trust, and certainly from my own experience, whether that be with animals actually or with humans, waiting, the patience to feel the pulse in a person, and trusting that what you apply with your good intention in your hands is okay in that moment. It's an art. I will say it didn't happen to me overnight, but those two words, PT,
Yeah.
patience and trust, yeah, I can't add anything to that. Thank
Okay. So
you.
anyway, I thought we would share a little self-help. And then I thought I'm totally open to questions, open to demos, if my tribe is. But I also thought I wanted to touch on some things about what is the same about working with people and animals, and what are the differences, and why, for me personally, I find it imperative to have both practices, because one informs the other and takes me deeper. One of the truths that I have learned, well, it's all part of the same truth, but who we be is more important than what we do. And so one of my faculty, Jude Godwin Burns, always says, the unsecret secret of the work is that you have to work on yourself first. Because if you don't be, then, as Mary would say, you're not giving from abundance. And I will admit, of course, it's a trick when your own animals might be having a crisis. Wow, it can be hard to get centered and get quiet. But several things about that. One is it matters. And two is work on them. Share the work with them when it's not a big deal, because then they know what it is and they understand it when you really need them to allow you to touch them. Yeah. So I was thinking about, total and complete. How do we get, and I thought, let's just, and as I said to Terry, I do watch a lot of your past replays. And so then I also thought, oh, I want a little hands-on that's different than I've seen recently. So I thought we would play with 36 centered breaths. Mary tells us 36 centered breaths bring us into harmony. And I thought we would get there through the anchor steps of the diaphragm and the umbilicus. So and technically, we're not going to dive into all that. Technically, diaphragm is an inhaling, but it helps the descending flows, everything going down. So it helps the stomach, it helps the large intestine, it helps the gallbladder, it helps the bladder, and it helps the small intestine. That's pretty efficient. And I'm so good with left and right. Okay, let's start with the left, with the past. You cannot do the anchor step of the diaphragm flow as written in the textbooks because you can't hold your own 19. So we're going to get real exotic and switch sides, which, by the way, is an important thing to know with the animals, because when you can't reach it easily, be gentle and switch hands. It may take a few more minutes for the pulse to come up and pulse together. That's okay. Time is an illusion, huh? Anyway, so we're going to start with left on right 19, right on left 14. We're going to hold that for 9 breaths. And then we're going to swap. Pretty exotic, yes? And then we're going to go to umbilicus. Technically a descending flow, but it helps all the ascending flows. So it helps the spleen, the lung, the liver, the kidney, and the heart. And you can remember it because U starts with up. Well, up starts with U. And it's going to help all of those ascending flows. And the left is left hand on right 20, right on right 19 for 9 breaths. And then we'll swap it. So the common denominator that I find in all those 4 positions are the 19s, power and authority, and a waistline harmonizer. And it's interesting, Mary talks about the waistline often as modern man's lifestyle choices. So I think it's lovely to harmonize those lifestyle choices in order to be ready to work with the animal kingdom. Yes. And your choice, you can count to 9. You don't have to count. I'll count if you like. But one thing, the way I do my 36 breaths every day is I do them as breaths of gratitude, because we live in a pretty chaotic time. There are things to be unhappy about, but that doesn't really take us forward. So I personally like to make sure that at least 36 conscious breaths a day, I'm grateful. Sometimes it's for things that, today I'm grateful for Terry. I'm grateful for Zoom, strange as it is. I'm grateful for the internet. I'm grateful for this community. I'm grateful for the animals in my life, etc. Once you start tuning into all those things you're grateful for, it becomes easier and easier. Sometimes you get to 36 and you want to keep going. That's okay too. So, all right, left on right 19, right on left 14. And if it's comfy, feel your feet flat on the ground. Let your head roll forward and back till you find that place with no weight. Bring your awareness into your breath. And consciously exhale down the front, letting go. Up the back, receiving. And we'll share 8 more breaths in this position. And now swap so that right hand is on left elbow, left hand on right 14. Melting those shoulders. Enjoying that breath. Follow it down the front of the body. Letting the breath breathe you. "14, that safety energy lock about digestion of food and ideas. 19, power and authority. 'Is our waistline helpers about how we digest life. Now we'll move on to the left umbilicus anchor step. So leave your right hand where it is on the left 19, and your left hand is coming to your right 20. That 20, talking about eternity, that which was, is, and will be. And now this is an inhaling helper. Receive from the abundance. An easy way to be full of gratitude. And then we'll swap hands for the right umbilicus. So your left hand to your right elbow, right hand to your left 20. When you finish, let your hands relax. And just notice where you landed. Are things a little more peaceful? Is there a little more space? That's the place where the animals want to be with us. So, I know we said we would have questions or discussions. So I've got plenty more I can say, but I wanted to see if there were any questions. You can raise a hand or put it in the chat or.
Oh, no, actually, I've closed the chat.
Oh, don't put
But
it in the chat. Okay,
but
sorry.
raise your hand either literally so I can see it, or just go down to reactions at the bottom of your program and then click on react, and there'll be a bar that says raise hand. Oh yeah, okay, we got them. All right,
Yay.
Nancy, unmute
Hooray.
yourself and fire away.
Hi, Adele. Thank you so much again. Working with Cattle Dog Rescue from Maine to Georgia, we have a lot of foster dogs here.
Yes, yes.
Actually, we as a group just pulled 22 cattle dogs from
From the
this
storms.
week from Georgia and Kentucky alone. 22 are coming into foster, not here, but that's
No, I get you. Yes.
we just did a 9-month stint, and she's fine and happy. But here's I have one of your charts in my living room. The dog chart is in my living room. So anytime there's a question, boom, I go right to it. I find that yes, that one. And I've given several of your books away, so I probably have none at this moment.
That's good because we have a buy one, get one. We'll talk about it at the end because I just got a new printing and we have no closets.
Okay, awesome. So I do find, I know my dogs so well, but when a foster dog comes in, I find that even when I try to come to this quiet, wonderful place of peace, it's hard for me to know exactly what the right thing to do is. Typically, I will go to the 3s and the 13s and 22s, 11 and 3, they love it. By the way, that's one of the first things I do to any foster dog that comes in is any kind of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. But I find that I still struggle with what is the right thing. I don't know this dog well. It's hard.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. We just at the refuge where I work, we just got 100 up the day before Hurricane Milton.
Wow.
And I was having a 4-day class there, and so just a little turmoil. But it turned out to be very, very, very blessed because these animals were freaked out, and we got to go be with them. Excuse me, I can't believe it. The people next door just started hammering. I'm going to close this door. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. Okay. Yes. So here's what I would say. So do you have your own dog there all the time and then you bring in a foster? Is it like that, or are you working on the fosters at a facility?
No, they're in my home, but I typically keep them separated
Okay.
in the
Okay.
beginning because of,
Yeah.
for many, many reasons.
So what I would do, what I have done, I brought one of those girls home, Jewel, to my house because teaching wasn't enough. I had to bring in a foster with my, yes. So I did keep her in another room, and they met on the walk. They met outside, and that was all okay.
That's good to know.
But what I normally do is I work on myself with it in that, you know, just my, whatever I'm going to do for the day, not just the 36 breaths sometimes, but sometimes my spleen flow or something like that. And then close to them, because, you know, they're at least as smart as we are. In catalogs, they might be significantly smarter. And then I just start petting. And I see what they like, where they're comfortable. The last thing I think about is what flow am I doing? And sometimes I'll have one that I'm petting, and then, like you said, that 1322, that's so good. I'll keep that and pet, and then let my hand slow down and feel what feels right on their body. And then I go, okay, so, you know, with fosters, sometimes you get 9s that it's all wriggly criggly in there because cycles have just ended. You know, I look at what their bodies want, and then I go back to, who is this energetic being? Who is this safety energy lock? And what is the message of this safety energy lock? And what are they asking for? And if they're needing a 9, they're needing some help with with the end of a cycle, I let my hand spread out, so I'm holding the 10 as well. So I have that discussion with them about a new beginning. You know, and almost everybody in the dog world either seems to like the 4s behind the ears or the 25s. And so you have something about receiving. You're either about that opening the window, or you're about gently and calmly regenerating and rejuvenating. And again, if you're petting from the top down, I don't know what this is. This is a German Shepherd, I guess. And then that 13 can sink in more and more. And so I move. That's often how I start. Because when I get the idea, they are fearful and I need to do the bladder flow, or their digestion is off, let me do the stomach flow. That is my brain. And that ain't it.
Great, thank you. That's helpful, because it is like, what flow do they need?
Yeah, less, accomplish more.
Yeah.
You really want to let your brain go away, do 11:15, 11:25, and go, wow, I got everything.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, there was another hand.
Yes,
it went.
Susan.
Hey, Adele.
Woohoo!
You.
She
Yeah.
does so much good work. This woman is up there in the shelter every week.
I am. Yeah, I just got a call this morning, and I have not seen a puppy, but we've got a 4-month-old French Bulldog puppy with
Can't breathe.
non-stop severe diarrhea. Reminded me of your collie. So I just grabbed the book, and so I'm just looking at the bladder flow. So that's what you say, just to do a right side.
And honestly, I would do the horse version. And what I mean by that is, for those who don't have the book or whatever, it's when I got I was one of those little girls who wanted the pony, and everyone told my mother I would outgrow it, and I didn't. So when I was 40, I got my first horse, and she was a Percheron thoroughbred mix with a bad back. So she needed bladder flow, and she was like, and it wasn't, there was no 12 and 25 going on. When I went back, to the textbooks and studied and looked for connection, because that's what it's about, relationship. 23, only safety energy lock in the 4th depth. 12, 23, 23, 25. Fabulous on a huge horse, great on a 4-month-old puppy. Because that 23 controller of their destiny, you know, the Frenchies are going through what the Goldens went through in the they're overbred right now. They're too popular. And they're going to have more and more of these health issues because humans breed dogs for the wrong reasons. But I'm preaching to the choir. I know you know that, Susan.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I would go there. Yeah, that's the first place. That's the very first place I would start. And it is such a popular breed. He will get adopted soon. And if there's any way you can teach this to the new parents, that would be great. Yeah. Yeah, I see Anne. Hi, Anne.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
you.
Love you, girl.
Yeah, I love you too.
Are there more questions that I'm missing?
If not, I've got one.
Good,
I'll
okay.
just yeah, go ahead.
No, Anne, you go ahead. If you
I just
have one.
wanted to give an example of my dog wakes me up at night when needing to go outside. So I've really been working with the bladder flow, and last night was a really good example. I actually happened to be up, and so he went out then. But basically, it's cutting it way down. So just that kind of I mean, we spend so much energy on their head and their, you know, their paws and their front part, and not that much energy on their rear part, which is, you know, and sometimes I just stroke them to get the front part connected to the back part, you know, and then I'll go into the bladder flow. So
Yeah,
it's working. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
correct. And you know what, Anne, you just made me think of something to go back to Susan. If you are there and do meet the adopters or other volunteers working with him, 2325 is a great quickie that is still on the right to tighten, but right 2325 is a real good quickie. Okay, Terry, you're on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is about a friend's dogs.
Okay.
We began the conversation. Let's call it how you can help harmonize when one dog feels their space is being invaded. I tend to go straight in on the heart and the 10, and she calms down. She still growls at the other dog. And I think I told you earlier, she was the first dog in the house.
And she's older.
Yeah, and she's now got a younger dog that's come into the home. And probably feels a little insecure and or possessive of the owner and or jealous. So one way you could look at it could be maybe bladder flow, kidney bladder, because you know that'll calm any fears.
Sure.
And
But also Mary tells us all sadness is possessiveness, all grief, all second depth. And you're talking second depth to me right now. So 13 and 10 both live in the second depth. So that's a great place to go. I also tend to go, I work a lot with the anchor steps with the animals. Quickies done really slowly. If I ever got a tattoo, I would put that across my forehead. Probably not, but I think it could be misinterpreted. Anyway, so I love the anchor of lung. Because it's an inhaling flow, but both safety energy locks of the anchor step are on the descending side. And the other thing, totally off of Jin Shin Jyutsu and not trying to stray, but if the little one could go for doggy day out once a week or something, go and get exhausted, also learn some socializing behaviors, then when they come home, when she comes home, A, she might be tired, and B, she may know more about boundaries.
Yeah.
And the other thing that is real important with that is you got to find some, and that would allow for that. You got to allow some private time for the first dog, some really special private time. It's just about you and me, and nothing's ever going to change it. And then little things like the oldest dog always gets fed first. That bowl goes down, the oldest dog always goes out the door first. You gotta give them their due. Respect,
Yeah. Well, certainly in my experience, it is very accurate about the sadness there, because I'm often saying to the owner, oh, she looks pretty sad to me. And she looked like that from when she was a rescue dog. And who knows what rescue dogs have been through. She was out on the street, who knows what they've inherited and what they've had to defend with. And one of the things she does, and I'm not complaining if the owner ever watches this, she wrecked my jeans, but they got replaced, because she stands up on her haunches whenever she sees someone. And you knock on the door and she's like this all the time, and you have to really bring her down to the ground, because is that like a defensive, protective mode where she's saying, I'm here, but come in on my basis.
I mean, it could be that. It could be that you're one of her favorite people and she was greeting you. And I know there are some people who wouldn't agree with this. I believe in treats.
Oh yeah.
And I always have a treat pouch on me. And my rule is 4 on the floor. And that means all 4 feet are on the ground or there are no treats.
Oh.
And pretty soon they learn 4 on the floor. Now, once in a blue moon, you get an animal who is not treat motivated, and that's harder.
Yeah. No, she is treat motivated. I'm always going to
Okay,
give
then
her
just
owner.
load up your pockets, keep them in the car.
I'm around there. The chicken.
And don't treat without, they got to work for it.
Right.
Well, I've taken the view, you've made that distinction between the old and the younger there. I've taken the view that she doesn't have to work too hard to get a treat, but maybe
No, I'm not saying hard. just a little bit. Just don't give it for no reason. If she's calm and lying there being good,
Well, there is another narrative here. She's got some form of cancer on one of her legs, and it's kind of growing. So my heart goes, I got to be a little more lenient on her, because she's probably in pain.
That's more second depth too.
Yeah, and the more you're in pain, you may defend your boundary even more. Be careful with me. Control what you can do.
I've been studying some other, cancer. One in every 7 dogs in America gets cancer now. And it has a lot to do with food additives, but I have other suggestions. Get back with me after this, Terry. It's not Jin Shin Jyutsu related, but I can send you some places, some things I think are.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I see Wayne has joined us. Hello, Wayne.
Really?
Yeah, Wayne's there. Wayne, have you got any questions?
Have I got any questions? I don't know. I don't have any answers, Terry. That's
Okay,
I got lots of questions, but
anyway, were your ears ringing? Because I started talking about you and my first class with you, and you saying safety energy lock 8, right? For diarrhea and constipation, which revolutionized my life.
Right.
So I have never taught a class where I didn't tell that story, and me raising my hand and asking, does it work with dogs? And you saying, well, my cat likes it. And it took me years to figure out how to go forward.
And stay with 8 and you're great. All right. It's good.
Bravo.
And
Anyway,
I apologize. I misunderstood the timing. I was translating Hawaii time where I am now, and I thought we were starting a little later. So I apologize for coming in late because I didn't want to miss time with Adele. Who would want to miss time with Adele? My goodness.
I love you.
And folks, I want to share with you, celebrate with me. 47 years ago today, November 14, 1977, I walked into a classroom and met Mary Burmeister.
Wow. Wow.
47 years ago today, and began the journey of a lifetime. So I'm just so excited and happy to be with you and folks who love the art, and yeah, wonderful. And animals, Adele, my love of animals.
I
We
know.
share that, so
I will
I'm
tell you
happy to
this,
hear
I
your-
find him slightly prejudiced, more in favor of cats, but we won't argue about it. I'm going to get him a Boro and he's going to love it.
Great.
I'll
Great.
confess I'm more of a cat person, but I have learnt to
You
love
are
dogs.
learning, Terry. You've come a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't, yeah. Well, horses, thanks to you. Are you just at this juncture, unless anyone's got any other questions, I don't want to stop the flow of questions for Adele, but are you planning any classes, maybe even in Phoenix again, but anywhere that you want to talk about?
Well, so right now I don't have in person coming up real soon because the animal classes kind of have to go with weather. So they'll start again in the spring, and that'll all be on my website. But because of that, we got to take advantage of the other times a year. So I'm going to be doing a couple webinars, short ones, on specific topics before the beginning of the year. Like the oldsters. I have, talk about planning. I have two 13-year-old dogs, a 16-year-old cat, and a 25-year-old horse.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, they're all doing great. And but it has changed my focus and my practice a little bit. And then we have another webinar on just some really general flows that are going to help everything. And
are they all on your website?
They were supposed to be, but they will be any moment now. They'll go up within the next week or so, I think. And then starting in January, for 7 weeks, we are doing an in-depth dive, an intro dive, which is based on working through my book, which in turn is based on Mary's self-help book 1 and book 2. And it is my belief, I don't know that anyone in the world would agree with this, but it is my deep belief that Mary always knew when she wrote these books that the animal work would come. And if you read this with a fine-tooth comb, you find these little nuggets that I assume she left for me. Now, I believe everyone finds them for themselves as well. But for instance, if you look at everybody's favorite, the spleen flow, maybe not everyone's favorite, but certainly way up there on mine, what you can't find without your glasses. Here we are. Okay. On page 42 in Self-Help Book 1, Mary gives us that luscious little paragraph where she says, If this position is uncomfortable, replace left fingers on left medial inner side of knee or on left pubic bone. No straining is necessary to unlock any of the 26 safety energy locks. Remember, there are no shoulds or have tos. Simply hold each position in your most comfortable way. That was like she'd given me gold nuggets on a platter, because starting a flow that's as important as the spleen flow, with the 5, the inside ankle on a scared animal, on a rescue animal, on a horse, it doesn't often go well. That's invasive. That's difficult for them to accept. The one's fantastic. I still start with 13 and 10, but almost all animals go slow. You don't get any brownie points in the animal work by going fast. So you let your hands move slowly, and into that 1 and 25, it's golden. That's one of the little nuggets that I just thought, and when you spend a lot of time and you go, okay, so what is she telling me? 15, 1, or 5. What is she telling me? Oh, she's telling me use a safety energy lock that helps the descending. And that was just an aha. Anyway, there are many. Look at what she tells you about safety energy lock 2 in text, in self-help book 2. Wisdom of all creatures. Oh my gosh, she was waiting for it. Wayne, my love.
I was going to say the same thing about creatures. She was clearly a lover of the animal world, and I agree with you. She was waiting for you to come along and lead this for us, Adele. So thank you for that. I also want to remind you that I'm here on Kauai for a bit of a holiday, and I drove past Healing Horses.
Oh yeah,
yesterday,
yeah.
where you were before,
Mhm.
and I'm going to go back and volunteer in your name some time at Healing Horses to be with the children and the horses and to carry on the work that you initiated there. So thanks for planting that seed.
Hip hooray. Luscious, luscious. I'm jumping back to that too for just 1 minute. Terry, am I talking too long? Are we?
No, we're coming to the top of the hour, and I always add on 15 minutes because I know, people like to.
Okay, so I tell you what, everybody, hop up just for a second and be a human, okay? And put your hands right on your toes. Pelvic, top of the pelvic girdle. Now, Wayne and Terry, you don't get to do this very often, probably. Okay, become 9 months pregnant, right? Okay, here you go. Okay, you're becoming 9 months. Oh, and feel what happens to those toes. Are they good and pinched? You feel them? They're getting all squashed up, right? Okay,
Yeah.
now for a
Ouch.
little relief, become a dog or a cat or a horse, as you choose. Do you feel how those toes open? And from this position, now move your head, look to the right and look to the left and look in front of you. And that is why I think Mary calls that wisdom of all creatures, because you have so much a wider viewpoint and those twos are so open. And she gave that, it's all right there in her words, waiting for us to play with it. Yeah. So,
Hey, sweetie.
okay, what should I? Yes. So on my website will be this deep dive intro into the book, which, as I said, is based on Self-Help Book 1 and Book 2. And it's kind of a self-help class at the same time, because as you've seen, you don't work on yourself, the animals ain't gonna accept you. And oh yeah, and the other little thing, okay, what I mentioned before, touched on it, is I just did my 7th printing of the books. Woohoo! So, but that means I have 10,000 books in the house in Destin, and we don't have a single closet. And so between now and the New Year's, I am doing a BOGO, buy one, get one free, of the new printing. It is the same book, except for that correction on page 9. And
Correction?
there
Page
was a
9?
correction on in the last 10,000. I had to live with a misprinted sentence for years.
And if I may, I suggest that's a really wonderful holiday gift. That
Is
would be
Yeah.
a wonderful thing to give to your family and friends.
Yeah, and while I don't have the BOGO thing, it is also now available in German, fully translated with all
That's
the
great.
and such. Yeah.
Great.
Vielen
But
Dank.
anyway, you just go to my website, you order a book, and in the comments, you write BOGO, and you get 2
Off
instead
you
of
go.
off.
I've actually put your website in the chat room, so folks, it's there.
Great.
And then, yeah, www.jsjforyouranimal.com.
You got it.
Now,
Exactly.
my Virgo is coming out here, not that I am, but everyone is. What was the correction on page 9? I'm curious. Was
Yeah,
it
right. I'm trying to find out.
Oh, it's that half a sentence was left out. This is the old one. Armed with this new knowledge, you are now free to change your ways in, I'm sure it should say something like in ways that harmonize you and your animals, or some such phrase, which is now in the new books, but I haven't brought any of the new books here yet.
what paragraph was that?
It is the last line.
Oh, okay.
Armed
With this
new
knowledge, you are now free to
You are now
change
free
your
to change
ways.
your ways. Even if we left out the in, if we put a period after,
Yes, that would be
that
better.
would have worked. But no, we had 10,000 books with half a sentence missing. So
Yeah, it's like a trigger for me if someone says we made a correction. It's like the old graphic designer goes, "Oh yeah, where?" Never look.
Yeah.
But anyway,
oh well, hey, as Wayne will tell you, I'm a triple Pisces. I got up this morning
oh,
and
triple,
put my
huh?
feet on the ground. Yeah, triple, and I'm still functioning. Woohoo! So anyway,
A triple.
taking,
Wow.
I know, taking this,
Yes, just a minute. Just a minute. Just a minute.
and if you have to go, it's okay. It's more,
He needs to go out.
I know you absolutely love to
Okay.
you both.
So if anyone's got any last minute questions, here is your opportunity. If not, I'll stop the recording.
Wait, no, because I've a few little lines on the way out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Going back to one of the questions, but also in general, when you start with a new one, watch where they want your hands. And then your question is, why do they want them there? And then you get out of your way, you open that channel, and you listen for what they're telling you and what they're asking you. Do less, accomplish more. And as you do this work on the animals, you are going to become more deeply anchored in the who of the safety energy locks. And it will be more fun than you know how to handle. And a quick little, okay, I'll do it real quick, Terry, I promise.
Oh, no pressure.
Okay. It is a poem by Meister Eckhart that I think he wrote, again, knowing that Jin Shin Jyutsu for your animal companions was coming down the pike in a couple hundred years. And it says love does that. All day long, a little burro labors, sometimes with heavy packs on her back, and sometimes with worries about things that bother only burros. Once in a while, a kind monk comes to her stall and brings a pear. But more than that, he looks into the burro's eyes and he touches her ears. And for a moment, she's free and even seems to laugh because love does that. Love frees. And that is my take on Jin Shin Jyutsu shared with the animals.
Beautiful. Yeah, so much wisdom there. And, you know, I take what you said earlier about working with animals and humans. It helps both.
Absolutely.
In helping you understand and relate to both animal and human at the energetic level. Oh gosh, I mean, you know, I could carry on listening to you, Adele, for a lot longer.
Well, careful what you say, because I can carry on too.
Yeah, I know. What I did want to pedal back to is something you said before we started recording, which was the communication aspect with animals. And are you doing individual courses on communication with animals? I was just curious.
No, I don't separate it from Jin Shin Jyutsu because to me, I hear better with my hands. So I do now teach intuitive communication as part of all of my in-person classes. And usually we get there on the online as well.
Right.
But I'm you gotta know your strong suit. Mine is not that someone shows me the picture 2,000 miles away and I get their story. Mine is that I put my hands on and I listen. And you know, there's all different ways we get information. Some people are feeling, some people are hearing, some people are tactile, some people, God forbid, but some people taste, which when you work with the animals isn't so great because they love to eat awful stuff. Some people see. So depending if you're clairvoyant or clairaudient, whatever you are, I tend to hear them, but I hear them better when my hands are on.
Yeah, no, that's great. I was just going to add that if someone really likes talking to animals, it's very easy with huskies. but a husky will keep you chatting forever. At least that's my experience. It's so beautiful to listen to them. Wayne, you got your hand up?
Yeah, just want to remind us that Mary said about communication, and Adele, you'll remember this. The most important part of communication is to listen to what is not being said. And with the animal world, that's especially appropriate to listen to what is not being said.
Yeah. And also you find, especially with the rescues, which is where I've dedicated most of my life, many of them have never been asked. What did they think? What did they feel? What did they want? And so they're really surprised that you would listen.
Very good point.
And once well, my guys are being very quiet today for some odd reason, but once they know they can be listened to, but they don't have to talk all the time when they know they're listened to. You know, and also they are not going to get 3 dinners no matter how much they ask. So go.
Wow. Yeah. So
Um,
my summary would be is, folks, all you need is love, and
Yeah.
connect with your animal through your hands, as Adele has shown us. And thank you so much, Adele. Thank you for taking time out. I know you're a busy person, and I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as I have. And thank you for those that raised your hand. And the recording will be up within 24 to 48
Thank you
hours.
so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Terry and
and-
Adele and Wayne. Good to see you, Wayne. It's been many years.
And so just a quick reminder that the next Harmonize to Energize, because Thanksgiving falls on the last Thursday of this month, the next Harmonize to Energize, it will be in December the 12th, and it will be with Sarah Harper, Beth Lendrum, and myself. We're doing a three-way. We haven't decided what we're going to actually present, but please join us. It's always fun with Beth and Sarah. So we're looking forward, or I am definitely looking forward to that. So if you want to put that in your calendar. And then I think it's probably the 26th of December is maybe the last Thursday in December. I will be by myself unless, well, with you, unless any other kind soul would like to come on with me or present instead. So lots going on. Oh, one more thing, those of you that are aware of it, myself and another presenter, not from JIN SHIN, but from the Unity Church, do this meditation once a month now, the last Sunday of the month. And some of you did sign up for it. Some of you may not have heard about it, but if you're interested, you know my email, harmonize2energize@gmail.com. And we'll be looking, I know a lot of you, for all kinds of reasons, are going through a little bit of trauma right now. PTSD is one label that's given. We're going to allow that to be breathed out, and so that you can find some peace, whatever your concerns are. And I welcome you to join us for that experience. It'll be 24th of November, 4 o'clock Arizona time. And Adele, I don't know if you can ever make that, but you're welcome. Wayne, you're always welcome. So, and everybody, just drop me a line. All right, I'm now going to stop the recording. Yeah.